nowadays seems to have no limits. Yet in the 600 Longtail, McLaren would appear to have surpassed all its previous efforts, because having driven it around the Hungaroring GP circuit for a day, let me tell you, this car is something else. On paper, the 600 LT doesn't seem that much different from the 570S on which it's based. Its 3.8 litre twin-turbo V8 has a touch more power and torque, yes, whilst its styling has been tickled to give it a more aggressive look for sure, but not one that's radically different from the 570S. Look more closely, however, and the 600 LT is in fact a very different animal. It's almost 100 kilograms lighter than the 570S for starters, and it generates an extra 100 kilograms of downforce thanks to its various new carbon fibre wings. Plus, it rides on a bespoke set of Pirelli Trofeo R tyres, which in conjunction with some suspension tweaks and a stronger set of brakes, make it, quote, much faster and much more dynamic to drive than a 570S, says McLaren. So, let's see. You don't actually have to drive it so much as 1 millimetre to work out just how different it feels compared with the 570S. This one's got the centre seats in it, but it's not just the seats, it's the instant noise that you get even just on startup. But more than that, the thing that defines the 600 LT on the move are the brakes. That and the extra front end precision that they've managed to engineer into the car is just so much sharper than the 570S. It feels like a competition car the way this car stops and the way the brake pedal feels under your right foot. It's just bang, right there. And this is something that McLaren have worked really hard to get right. They're a bit sore basically from people saying, why don't your cars feel and stop as well as 911 GT3s and GT3 RSs, which is what this thing is designed to rival. So they've worked really hard on it and it's paid off. Does this car stop as brilliantly as a GT3 RS? I don't know, but if it doesn't, it's very close. The downshifts, they're so quick. This one has basically got the same gearbox technology in it that the Senna has, so you get this deliberate push forwards when you're in track mode, dynamic mode, because it's zero shift times with the gearbox, and in a way it's a little bit too violent because you get a slightly Lamborghini-like thump in the back when you upshift. But it does feel dramatic, it really does. Right, let's give it some beans. It ain't slow, this thing, it really ain't slow. They say 0 to 62 in 2.9, and I think it's 0 to 200 clicks, 124-ish miles an hour in low 8 seconds. So it's got to be doing 0 to 100 miles an hour in low 5s. That is just mental fast. And it feels it on the move. But no matter how quick this thing feels in a straight line, it's the chassis that defines it, and the steering, and as I said, the brakes. It kind of feels like a mini Senna, I guess. So all of a sudden, 185 grand, or call it this one, about 245 grand with all the carbon bits and the Senna seats. That sounds like a crazy amount of money, but if you think of it as a kind of 4/5 of a Senna, which costs a lot more money than this car, that's pretty good. That is pretty cool. To be perfectly honest, it makes the 570S feel a bit baggy, and I don't know whether that's quite the response that McLaren were wanting, but anyway.
I have to say that in one word, the 600 LT is brilliant.
McLaren says there is no production limit to the 600 LT, unlike the previous 675 LT, of which just 500 examples were made. Instead, McLaren says simply that it will build the 600 LT for approximately 1 year, and then that will be that, which is either a subtle way of exciting a buyer's market or a clever way of not upsetting the people who don't make it onto the shortlist, or perhaps a bit of both. So anyway, after some exploratory laps without a crash helmet on, I then did the seatbelts up a bit, put a lid on and went out for one last blast, just to make sure.
Because I just want you guys to see what this thing can do, because it is utterly spectacular when you drive it fast. It's really good on this track as well. It suits this track down to the ground. Trofeo is the standard tyre for the 600 LT. That, in combination with all the mods that they've done to the suspension and the 100 kilograms that they've taken out, stick a set of Trofeos on top of all that lot, and you get this. They say that the GT3 RS is the kind of natural rival for this car, and I'm really trying to work out how good it would be compared with the GT3, and I tell you what, I cannot see a GT3, even the RS, staying with this thing around the track. It just feels like a flipping racing car. Beautiful traction, beautiful brake feel, massive acceleration. Wow, this is a proper weapon, the 600 LT.
In my opinion, the best all-round road car McLaren has yet produced, and there have been some pretty tasty ones over the last 6 years. Makes you wonder what on earth they'll come up with next. Either way, the once unimpeachable Porsche 911 GT3 RS now has a very serious rival to contend with. And frankly, compliments don't come much higher than that.